Welcome to episode 1 of, what am I calling it?
That's why it's called Clean Classics.
Am I,
Anxiety cleaning. Oh, that's going to go straight in.
welcome to episode 1 of this YouTube series. We're going to be following builds, the progress of our R&D, just anything that's been going on in the workshop and in the office at Clean Classics. Hi, I'm Ollie. This is my company, Clean Classics. I used to be a motorsports engineer, and my brother-in-law, Jeremy, owner of 𝗠𝗏, this Land Rover lightweight here, asked me, did I know anything about making Land Rovers electric? A long story later, and here we have what is now Clean Classics' first product. We properly engineer solutions for specific vehicles, Series 2 and 3 Land Rovers being our first system. This one is based on Nissan Leaf written off vehicles, so the whole thing is really sustainable. It's basically an old vehicle, a waste product effectively that we bring together to create a really sustainable vehicle option for, and also full of character and fun. We've just had it back from Jeremy because we've just put it in summer mode. We've taken the hood sticks and door tops off. This is the system we put together. It's now we now stock stuff, get it on the shelves, and we can. The idea is to have a small production line, bringing costs down whilst boosting quality as highly as we can. And we're really trying to focus on getting drivability, reliability, quality as high as it can possibly be. And have a really sort of polished product, not something that's sort of based on a kit or anything like that. We come up with our own system. One of our primary focuses with putting this system together was actually improving where the weight position goes. We either want to keep the weight positioning and quantity the same, or we want to improve the car, so improve the stability. It's an old Land Rover, but there's no sense in making anything worse. So 75% of the batteries live under the seat. You can just see the box sticking out at the bottom there. It lives either side underneath the seat box. It's where the old fuel tanks used to live. Then right down low in the engine bay at the back is our motor and inverter stack. Then another quarter of the batteries low down just in front, where the sort of front of the engine block would have once been. Main control center, all of the high voltage control, ECUs, everything lives in there, all serviceable, easy to get at. 80 kilowatt motor, 250 newton meters of torque. It uses an LT230 transfer box, so it's a more modern transfer box from a Defender, better range of ratio options, and it's just a more reliable, more modern transmission unit. It drives like an automatic, it's a single speed. And yeah, that's fundamentally the system. It works great, it's so much fun. We'll have a little look inside the workshop in a minute and take you around sort of what we do and how we do it.
We were asked to source a car for EV Classics, second conversion we've done for them. It's a late Series 2A. It's been rebuilt a number of years ago onto a galvanised chassis. It's got parabolic springs on it already. It's got a disc brake conversion on the front. So it's got a lot of good bits and the rolling chassis that we can reuse for our conversion. It's currently fitted with a Mazda Perkins diesel engine, 𝗦cie𝗰𝗶𝗹 gearbox and a Borg-Warner transfer box, but we don't use any of the original transmission in our series conversions, so all of that will be coming out anyway. When I was sourcing a vehicle, I deliberately found a vehicle that had already been quite messed around with. If it was something really original and unmolested and low mileage, it's probably not the right thing for the conversion. But like when it's an older vehicle that's already been messed around with, had an old smoky diesel engine put in it, it's ideal for a conversion, and it means we upset lesser if it counters, I suppose. So you've got some older repairs on these Land Rovers that look all right. The footwell, it's not the best repair, but it looks quite solid from the inside of the footwell. But then obviously, when you look around the other side, it's obviously not very good at all. So that'll all be getting cut out and done properly. As you can see, it's got disc brakes on the front. Really good galvanised chassis. Got parabolics all round. We do reanimate the old gauges, so if it's going to stay with the Series 3 type dash, obviously we'll refurbish all of these, reanimate the fuel gauge to give state of charge, and the temperature gauge to give battery temperature, and then obviously reuse the speedo for its original purpose. This is a Nissan Leaf battery pack from a 40 kilowatt hour car that I broke up the other week. The important thing before you start doing anything with a battery pack is to ensure that the service disconnect plug is removed, which splits the pack in half and reduces the voltage. Inside the battery pack, obviously we've got battery modules, so half of the pack is in this section at the back here, and then you've got a quarter and a quarter either side at the front. You've got the BMS module, which is the battery management system, controls all the balancing between all of the cells. You've got the service disconnect that we took the plug out of earlier, right in the middle. You've got a Hall effect sensor, which tells the PDM what current's being drawn from the batteries. And then you've got the contactor pack at the front here. So you've got positive and negative contactors, pre-charge resistor, and the relay that controls the pre-charge resistor. We obviously strip this pack right down and then repackage the modules. We reuse the BMS, the contactors, the service disconnect, and the Hall effect sensor. So we reuse all of those components, but we repackage them into our own custom built boxes. This is a 40 kilowatt battery pack, which is going into the Series 2A for EV Classics. We're going to be taking this apart later on today and starting to repackage it into our boxes, so we can have a look at that later on in the video. So this is a Nissan Leaf motor, inverter and PDM. It's an EM57 type motor. The motor forms that sort of portion of the stack. This part is the inverter, and then the top part is the PDM that controls the charging and DC to DC charging, and all of the other electronic gubbins. We build our own motor mounts. We don't drill or cut anything on the original chassis of the Land Rover. We pick up on existing mounting points everywhere, so we don't affect the chassis in any way. We make our own custom mounting brackets and plates. So this end of the motor actually has a plate with a bearing housing and an output flange, and then we prop drive from there direct into an LT230, a Defender transfer box. It's a bit more uprated. It means we get permanent four-wheel drive, so we can run higher rates of regen. It's a bit more heavy duty. It's better suited to the kind of power that we're putting through the transmission. Whereas if you just bolt a motor to the front of a series gearbox, you're just going to rattle your gearbox to bits.
Okay, so I'll take you around the workshop. We've sort of scoped past Johnny Corner, which is the bit of the eyesore. It's just a small percentage of the Land Rovers he owns. But moving on, there's actually one of our customers' Minis that's there for a bit of our own development, but don't get too excited. We're not doing Minis at the moment. It's all about the old Land Rovers. This is the Series 2A we're doing for EV Classics. It's all the other parts that now aren't on its rolling chassis. We've got this one's actually a Belgian military car. Used to be two-wheel drive, is now four-wheel drive. This is another project that's in the pipeline we're going to be doing soon with some partners over in Europe that we're really excited to work with. We're not going to announce who it is. Another resto we have going on that's also being converted to electric is the Series 1. We've got a load of the parts here that we're currently refurbing the axles. So yeah, these are the sort of the cars in the pipeline here. While we walk past it, this is my Austin Healey Sprite. It's been in the family many generations now. It was bought new by my great-grandfather, I believe. Not electric yet, not for a while, but that is the end plan. It's in here because inevitably there's a little bit of an issue with it, as there commonly is, but we'll get it back going because the weather's really nice, so I want to get back driving. We're about to strip down a battery, as I think Johnny might have run you through. It's the Series 1 chassis that we removed. You can always see a little bit when you're just looking under the car, but once you start taking parts off and getting into it, you can really see there would have been a lot of work to restore this old chassis. It's had quite a few old repairs in the past. In this instance, it was what the customer wanted to do. We wanted to go to just something that was going to future-proof it all round. So he didn't want to be bringing it back in a couple of years' time because some unknown rust happened on his old chassis. So while we're in this corner, we have another one of my cars. It's a Range Rover Classic. There's a building amount of R&D going on this. It's going to be our next big product past the Series Land Rovers. Not a lot I'm going to say about that now, but I'm really excited about the plan we have for that. I think it's going to be a bit different to the other things that are out there on the market at the moment, so watch this space. Moving on around the workshop, we've got the mill and the lathe, which are just invaluable bits of kit when you're just trying to come up with mechanical engineered items. To be able to just jump in here and try stuff out, create kind of one-off parts to test things. You know, there might be something that needs adjusting on a resto. Just these old bits of kit, you know, from God knows way back when, are just so useful. Moving around is our kind of fab sub-assembly. At the moment, Johnny's busy. He's stripped down the Series 1 axles. We've got all those new parts ready to put them back together. Now we've got all the parts, Johnny will reassemble the axles. Once they're reassembled, we'll tidy them up a bit, you know, give them a coat of paint and stuff, and then they'll go onto the galvanised chassis. Everything else can come back on. We're keeping the old original patina. The body on the Series 1's fantastic, so, and we love the way it looks. So that's all staying as it was. It's all going back on. And if we go upstairs now, we're working on the Series 1 system in CAD. So we've got Alfie here, who is currently working on sort of the final details of the system. That is effectively, it's the same system that we've got for Series 2s and 3s. It's just the space is slightly different, so we're just adapting it soon. So we're aiming to get that out to manufacture really soon. Another one of our very patient customers, but we're getting there now. Is going to be. We're really excited about the Series 1 package. I think it's really, really cool and a really fun, usable car. In the T corner is where we were sort of starting to keep our stock we've got a couple of systems left in stock that are going to go into the builds we've just looked at, really. But basically we've got, we batch order our boxes in, so we basically hold stock for future systems. We're working on now getting a really sort of tight assembly line of taking parts out of a Nissan Leaf, building them back up into our system, building it up so it's then a system that's in stock, so when a customer car comes in, we're all ready to pull parts out, fit it, and we can then focus on actually making sure the build goes into a really high quality, all be about quality control, testing, make sure it's gone in just right for the customer. We'll be able to do that in a much shorter time because before anything comes in, it'll be sub-assembled and ready to go. It's been an unbelievably long journey to get to the point. There's only a few of us, and getting to the point where it's a working, good quality product that we're really happy with, and something we can just assemble before a car gets here. It's been a long journey, but we're there now. And yeah, who knows? They might even be available for kits for commercial partners moving forwards. We're making some inroads into that at the moment, but yeah, we're really super pleased with how it is at the moment. There's a lot of development going on too.
So just an update on the Series 1 project. The Series 1 came in originally for conversion. On inspection, we found out that various parts of the chassis needed attention and various parts of the mechanical bits needed attention too. So the customer has opted for a galvanised chassis. This is the rest of the Series 1 in kit form pretty much. The customer decided that he quite liked the patina of his vehicle, so he's asked us not to restore the bodywork. So we've just removed everything and placed it here out of the way while we do the work on the rolling chassis. These are all the new bits that arrived this week that are going into his old axles, which are being refurbished over here. So the axles are getting a complete refurb. The hub seals were leaking. They're the old leather type seals, and yeah, so they were leaking and contaminating the brake shoes. So they've got to go, and while we're in there pressing it all apart, we're changing the wheel bearings and going right through the rear axle, the front axle as well. As you can see, this is all the bits of the front axle. So the swivel pins, it had been converted to Ralco bushes previously, but the swivel pins are heavily corroded, so we're rebuilding those. Also, one of the lower bearings was just about to collapse. It's actually, now that it's apart, one of the rollers has fallen out of it. All the bearings and seals and gaskets are going to be replaced. The swivel balls were quite pitted, so they're going to be replaced, along with the bearings in the back, which are pressed onto the half shafts. So we've had to remove the compression collars and remove the bearings from the half shaft. So they're all now ready to go back in to the new swivel balls and all get bolted back together. So the axle casing's over there. I've removed and inspected both of these diffs. and replaced the diff gasket. I've also replaced the diff pinion gasket and the diff pinion seal in there and reset the preload on the pinion bearings. I've replaced the seals inside the ends of the axles and then just put gloves over them to stop any unwanted rubbish going in there while they're awaiting the rest of their parts. So this is the new Richard chassis for the Series 1 project. It arrived a few weeks ago. Obviously we've got a new steering relay to go in. It comes with the chassis spring bushes already in. I've pressed out the old bushes from all the spring-eyed bushes. They're all ready to have new bushes put in them, ready to go back on. We've threaded some MIG wire through the chassis to allow us to pull through the wiring loom. As soon as the axles are rebuilt, we'll get the springs back on them and we'll get them bolted back on and get it back to a rolling chassis. Then the bulkhead can go in and the rear tub can go on, and it frees up a bit of space in the workshop then. This is the 40 kilowatt leaf pack, the full pack from a 40 kilowatt hour Nissan Leaf, repackaged into our own custom metalwork and brackets, all ready to go into one of our series conversions. These two here are under seat boxes where the fuel tanks used to be, and then the remainder of the pack is in this front box here. So these modules are all connected in series, and each individual cell has its own cell tap that feeds back to the BMS, so the BMS can balance all the individual cells in turn. So in a full leaf pack, there's 96 cells. So you've got a lot of cell taps that have all got to end up at the right place for the BMS, and we'll probably cover that at a later stage.
Right, time to take it back to Jeremy. I think he's going to like it with the roof off.